Question: why should you have leadership and structure in your motorcycle club or riding group? Why not just hang out and ride? Is structure necessary? Well, if you are thirsting for the answer, Bikeaholics, then hang on for a wild-ass ride. Hey, Bikeaholics and listeners alike, the show is still going strong because of a lot of hard work and your support, of course. Thanks to all those loyal listeners and true friends of the show that have supported us or are supporting us. For less than a coffee a month, you can help support us too and put a little fuel in the law-abiding biker gas tank to make sure this show keeps moving on down the road. So, calling all law-abiding bikers, head over to our Patreon page and take action today. You can do so at lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. Oh, did I mention there's benefits too? From all your friends at lawabidingbiker.com, we appreciate each and every one of you. God bless and ride safe.
Hola, papi. Ven y escucha otro episodio del Lab.
And now, straight from the Law Abiding Biker Media Studio,
out of sunny Yakima, Washington,
we bring you another episode of the
#1 listen to motorcycle podcast.
We're in your head.
We're in your head.
We're in your head.
We're in your head.
Oh, Jakey started bobbing his head when he heard the intro music.
Oh, yeah.
Jakey in the house, LD in the house. Welcome back, you freaking Bikeaholics. This is the podcast for the motorcycle majority. The big MM, also known as the
99%.
Anyone? That's right. It is a biker revolution, bitches. Large and in charge of the motorcycle scene. I do have to ask a question of everybody. What are you waiting for, Bikeaholics? Mount up. Let us take you on another wild-ass ride, huh? Okay, guys, welcome back. This is Ryan Erlacher, your host of the Law Abiding Biker Podcast, and your
high-tech redneck.
There you go. You almost got two. I almost got it in stereo, dude. You should be riding. If you're not, you should at least be thinking about riding. And if you're not, then we are here to help. And yes, we have a loaded-ass episode. We're not going to waste a lot of time, and we're going to get right into the content. Welcome the live audience that is streaming live in the chat room. If you guys want to get involved in the live experience, head over to lawabidingbiker.com/live. There's a page over there. There is a chat. We chat live with people. They interact. Of course, all our live episodes will also at some point be put out in regular podcast format. If you would like to be on the, I know a lot of you are on our regular email list, and that is wonderful. I send out when we do new free videos and all that kind of stuff. That's lawabidingbiker.com/email club. However, there is a separate email list if you are just specifically want to know when we are going live. And if you go over to lawabidingbiker.com/live, right on that page in the upper right-hand sidebar is a sign-up list. Your name and email address take you about 5 seconds, and bam, you are now going to be notified. And I think the email went out this morning early, and I tell you usually the morning of, and there's a big listen live button, and you can just come back at the time listed, and it takes you right to the page, and you can just go ahead and join on in. The chat is getting bigger, and the live experience is getting bigger. It is raw. It is unplugged. And you get to hear the work up too and the mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So, LD, what's going on, buddy? Glad to have you in the studio.
Just drinking my beers.
Attaboy. Are you prepared for this topic?
What's the topic again? I'm ready.
Yeah. One for LD. Jakey, are you ready for this topic? Jakey came prepared. He brought notes, and I appreciate that.
Well, as I can be.
Because I think I sent these notes out to you guys about 5 days early or so.
Right.
So that we would have time to get on going there. I will. One quick announcement, guys. Please, right now, take action. I know some are listening live. You may be listening later on your smartphone. Just do it. Hit your web browser. Go to lawabidingbiker.com/GoPro. We have the GoPro raffle going on. It is a Hero Silver, 3 silver GoPro touchscreen. The best, the baddest ass GoPro, a $400 value. It's 4K capabilities, and we're limiting to 100 tickets, guys. That's it. So when they're sold, they're sold. They're $10 to enter, 1 entry per person. So again, 100 tickets limit. There are 10 a $10 purchase puts your name in the hat. And when we get to 100, we will actually do a drawing, Lurch and I, and we will announce the winner. We will ship it to you. It's it's brand new, and the plastic's sitting here in the studio right now. So please, all the extra proceeds, guys, to that, of course, will go right back into the law-abiding biker gas tank so we can keep taking this thing on down the road. And there are big plans, and we have big stuff going on here in 2015. You guys are going to see a lot of stuff, but that's really going to depend on, what we're doing as far as bringing in, and that little raffle will help us out. New patron, real quick. Anybody want to thank the new patrons? Anybody? Mm-hmm.
Stephen Abel of Manassas, Virginia. Is that how you say that?
Where are you looking at? Oh, yeah. Okay, you went down there.
I'm sorry.
That's
Craig,
fine. Stephen Abel. Mm-hmm.
And Craig Pindell. Oh, you put new patron on there twice. That's why.
Oh, yeah, right on.
Craig Pindell is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And no location on that one.
Thank you so much to our patrons. Those are really the meat and potatoes and the background, or the foundation of Lab Media. We really consider them investors. Of course, they get benefits over there, guys. lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. I just sent out some t-shirts and some stickers and all kinds of cool stuff. And of course, they get, if they pledge a certain tier over there, they get in the secret private Facebook group. It is secret now because we're getting so many requests to get in it. I had to make it secret. LD's over there, Jake's over there. We give a whole bunch of insight stuff that we don't put out anywhere else. We really, really, focus on that group because the people over there that are involved, we really get to know them. Even though we haven't met a lot of them, it's almost like we know them. It is, because we're having a special. If you become a patron before summer and you're headed to Sturgis, we are going to have something really awesome that actually LD is heading that up. Aren't you, LD?
Yes, I am.
And we can't announce any of that yet, but that's in the works. And of course, we talk about all that over there. So here we go. Let's get into. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Stop you for just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Petrie says he was promised a massage if he donated from Ryan.
It's coming, Mike. As soon as I can get over there. What kind of ask him what kind of lotion he likes.
He might go for the oil.
Well, he can hear the question and we'll see what he says.
Yeah, see what he says. What kind of lotion he likes. Mm-hmm. All right. Do we want to get into our main subject, gentlemen? Shall we?
Oh, yeah.
Because we got a lot to talk about. Like I say, you guys join in on the chat if that's something that you want to give your... Oh, here we go.
It rubs the lotion on its skin. It does this whenever it's told.
As long as he doesn't talk to me like that while I'm massaging him, dude.
He says surprise him on the lotion.
Okay, so here's the main topic, guys. Here's how it came about. It was a email, and this came back several months ago, and we are just so busy here with topics and stuff going on, getting our stuff going on here in 2015, our business model. But the main topic came, and it was basically how I opened, and that is why have club officers, and why have structure in a club? Why not just, and why not get together with some riding group guys? Why does it have to go structured? Is it necessary to go structured? Is it necessary to elect officers, or can you just hang out and ride when you want? And does that work? And why doesn't it work if it doesn't? And, some of the insights, we have a lot of experience in this room. We have a lot of experience there on the chat room. So I expect it to be a very good topic. Of course, I have my ideas and my influences, and my experiences as being president of 2 different clubs now, motorcycle clubs, that is. So we're going to dive into that, and we may stray off here to there, but I think for the most part, we'll nail it down. This came in the form of an email. I want to give credit to Akshay Athavel, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. He is from India, guys. We do have a quite a large following in India. We're in actually 35 plus countries now. And they ride a lot of motorcycles over there in India. And he talks about a little bit in the email here, but he's from the city of Bangalore, and the state is Karnataka. And hopefully I didn't mutilate that. But again, India, shout out to India and our India listeners. That's just awesome. And he sent me some really cool pictures of him and his riding group and stuff that I'll share on the blog. To this show, as usual, guys, I actually wrote a very, very, very detailed article on everything you're going to hear here. Actually, you'll hear more here, but it will be at lawabidingbiker.com / and the episode number. Any links we refer to any past episodes we refer to. This is really going to be a go-to episode and page for club type stuff. So here you go. Who wants to handle this email? Just jump right in.
All right. We are a relatively new biker club from India.
Real quick subject he puts is resistance to elections. So go for it, buddy.
The subject is resistance.
Thank you. It kind of makes a difference.
Resistance to elections.
We can't hear you.
Oh, okay. So resistance to elections. We are a relatively new biker club from India, only 4 months old, and we have a membership of around 55 to 60 odd people. So pretty big, pretty quick. We don't have cruisers, choppers in India, and Harleys are slightly on the pricier side. So we ride Royal
Enfields.
Royal Enfields.
You know exactly what that is, don't you? Yeah, they're awesome.
So he says last week was the club's first attendance at a major bike fest in the country where our presence was full. I can hardly read that. Felt amongst other established groups. But now to formulate the whole scene, I and a friend of mine have decided to conduct elections for executive principal officers. Herein lies my problem. A large majority, actually almost all of the members, have given this lame excuse of every member is equal. We don't need elections. So, I mean, you hear that a lot of times.
Yeah.
So, I find that a load of bullshit, since I find your presence on the internet and the popular biking scene quite immense.
Very nice.
I'd like you to... Man, my glasses, I can't see shit. You read it, Jake. Should have put my contacts
Herein lies the problem. Go ahead, Jake.
Okay. Herein lies the problem. A large majority, actually almost all of the members, have given the lame excuse of every member is equal. We don't need elections. I find that a load of bullshit. Since I find your presence on the internet and the popular biking scene quite immense, I'd like you to write an email citing why a motorcycle club is different from a riding club and why office bearers are needed for the club's longevity. If that is not too much to ask, that I can't read it out and cite it to them and get them on the right track. I hope a reply is in store soon, basically right there.
There you go. So I basically gave him some useful links. I'm going to run down here really, guys, and jot them down if you want, or again, they'll be in the show notes, lawabidingbiker.com/ the episode number. We did episode number 33, and that particular episode was titled, So You're Curious About the Sworn Few Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, LEMC. Again, episode 33, if you want to refer back to that, that was loaded with information about clubbing. Episode number 43, which was titled Law Abiding Biker Perspective Chapter Process, an inside look into the Sworn Few LEMC Big River chapter. Very, very popular, a highly downloaded episode. Episode number 55, titled So You're Shopping for a Quick, Easy Motorcycle Biker Club Colors, Huh? Just admit it already. Again, episode 55. And the last one I will refer you back to is episode number 57, titled Should I Join a Traditional Type Motorcycle Club? Are there benefits? There you go. Will be in the show notes. Let me jump on the second email. I'm not going to read it all, and then we'll dive right in. But basically, it says a lot of our members are in their 20s. This is a follow-up email that I talked to him about, or we corresponded, I should say. Personally, I have done 7,000 kilometers. I did the math on that with a conversion. That's 43,000 miles in 4 years. So he rides a lot. And if you guys know what a Royal Enfield is, they are cool-looking bikes. They are not as comfortable even close to a Street Glide or a Harley. Wow. So the fact that he puts that many miles on, that is a bikeaholic. God bless him for being a bikeaholic. So, and of course he drives, he says, a lot in his car. What he would like to know is what is it like to ride alone on so I know what it is like to ride on an open road, but I want to be able to share my experience with a bigger bunch of people and introduce them to the sheer joy of hitting the road and not bothering about fatigue and comfort. So apparently he's got some pansies a little bit bitching about riding. Who bitches in our club about that? We're pretty good about it.
No, none of us, but our previous club.
Our previous club, yes, you're right. They bitched a lot if it was any farther than lunch and back. So, all right, and since my opinion is just singular, it becomes hard to put that point across, but with a hierarchy and structure, it becomes simpler. He's got some good points. So he suggested a meetup anyways with this riding group, is what he tells me, of 50. He wanted to stand in front of all 50 of these people and have something to give his speech with. And so I actually put everything aside for this guy because I really was heartfelt about his situation, and he's really trying to do something good over there. I wrote a really, really detailed article, and it hasn't been published yet. It will be published when this airs, but it will be out in the article. And he actually took that to his 50 members, and I haven't touched back with him on exactly how that went, but hopefully it went well. And I know he's a avid motorcyclist and a longtime listener. So if he wants to get a hold of us and let us know how that went. The kind of negative connotation, he says, attached to the election is so incredible that the name calling itself has turned people sour. So there's so much worry,
Right.
About that at this point, that it's causing some conflict. And so, hopefully other clubs can use this as a resource too. And yes, they have access to our podcast, because that was one of my recommendations. I gave him all those episodes and I said, have them all listen. And he did. He tried to make it mandatory that everybody listen and up on joining and get signed up for the email list and the website and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, there's how it happened, guys. And I've had it on the side here for trying to work on it before we went out. So, all right, I'm just going to start it out. And unless you have some initial thoughts, one of you guys.
I don't think there should be elections. I think they should go without.
Straight off the bat.
No,
dude,
just
straight up. Yeah.
I just thought you'd like
good.
that.
Yeah, that's good. I like it, dude. I like it, dude. All
I
right.
completely disagree.
Yeah,
so do
let's
I.
just
I do
start it
too.
right now, dude. All right. So I guess the first thing I'll say is having some experience. And I will tell you that Jake, in his unspecified LEO agency that he works for, is in a supervisory role. So he's going to bring some experience to the table. I know LD has had some supervisor experience, and he's trained some people, and that's a supervisory role in our job, in our paying jobs, I should say. And of course, I've done the same, and then I've been president of our last club and then president of the Sworn Few LEMC, which we're currently with. So we all bring a little bit something different to the table. I will tell you that having watched the motorcycle scene and continue to monitor what's going on, and I think you guys can attest this too, that I have seen clubs and groups come and go. I've seen clubs start and clubs go. I've seen riding groups come and go. I've seen what seems to be some tight-knit, motorcycle groups come and go. I've seen some local car clubs that we see at motorcycle events come and go. Now, what is the reason for that? What is the reason that, clubs or groups stay together and or fail, which is basically what we're going to get into. And I will tell you straight off the top, and you can add to this, Jake or Rob, it's purely, in my opinion and my experience, a lack of organization, a lack of structure, and a lack of leadership. And there may be some more tag words in there that may be more appropriate than that, but those are the ones I came up with. And we will dive a little bit deeper, but at its foundation, just a group of riding guys straight off the bat lack organization, they lack structure, and they lack leadership, which we just heard in his email, which is already causing problems, right?
Right.
Because people are a little bit sour.
Right. Yeah, I've got a couple thoughts on this, but
Great.
at the end of the day, you guys have got to have some type of direction on where you want to see your club go. Do you guys want to be a club that raises funds? Do you guys want to see rides? Do you want to have somebody that organizes rides? The buck's got to stop with somebody on all those types of things. Like us, what direction we want our club to go as far as growth and all that kind of stuff. When we first sat down, Ryan had a lot of ideas, and we had to put them into bylaws. And when we did that, leaving Ryan, it was obvious that he was going to be the president. I mean, he had, he basically set our path for us. So, but like I said, he set the path for the club, how the club's going to grow over the future. And I don't agree with changing your president every year or 2 years. It's almost like you can't set, I guess, I don't know how to say it, but to set yourself up for future growth and where you want to eventually be, you can't always make that change in a couple of years. It's almost like hiring a football coach and telling him, hey, we want to win a Super Bowl, and then expecting him to be able to bring in the players and put the pieces in place to do that in 2 years, and if he doesn't do it, you fire him. No, you need to give the guy at least 5 years to set up his system the way he wants it, not how the last guy did it. Get rid of the people from the last guy, set it up so that he can move forward the way he wants to do it.
That's great, actually. Great insight. And you bring up some examples that I had in my head too, and we'll use that, the sports team, or, we can definitely use that one. So what I hear and is basically, and you're going to hear this a lot throughout my notes or as we go through here, and some of my top thoughts is basically what you're saying, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is that you need a leader of a group to continue with that group and future successes, and to basically, the way I look at it, and you'll hear me say it more in this episode, is I consider myself not a president, although that's my title. Really, my job is to be a conductor. I don't need to do a whole bunch, but you need somebody to at least conduct somewhat to make sure that things are progressing and things are not lacking within, and that the group's going to stay together. Because if you don't put a title on it, nobody's going to be responsible for it.
You're going to say, why do I have to answer to you?
Right.
The thing is so we have a set of standards within our club and the way we're going to conduct ourselves. So if you've got Joe Blow club member going out and starting bar fights or something that we're not about, and the perception we don't want the community to perceive us as, who's going to step up and stop him? If you've got elected officers, you know who's going to step up and stop him. You know whose responsibility that is. You might have somebody, I don't want to hurt his feelings or whatever, and the buck stops with nobody. To continue the path of the club, the buck's got to stop somewhere.
I think that, like your guys are saying, structure for any organization is such a key. I mean, I've been involved in everything from in high school being in the FFA to college in a fraternity. You had to have some form of officers and people that ran that. I mean, especially, I look at this group, they're talking 20s, some are in their teens. This reminds me of like a group like my fraternity was, and there's 60 to 65 guys in this house. And we had to have officers. Now, granted, when we had our meetings, everybody has an equal say in the meeting.
Ryan.
But day-to-day operations.
I hate to interrupt, but if you have any questions about the massage stuff and the oils, he lived in a house with 60 guys.
I got real good at it, too, when I was a freshman.
That's awesome. Go with your thoughts, Jakey.
There are times where, when you have the meetings and all the members have an equal vote, that's a given. But the day-to-day operations, and when certain things go on and everybody's not together, you still have to have that group of people or your leaders that, I guess I would put it, really come out and represent that organization, and they kind of get things rolling and they keep things organized, and I guess make it more of a well-oiled machine. Because
they could make a right-now decision on things that need to be made right now. They have the authority. They may be within parameters, like you can't spend more than $200 without going to a vote or whatever.
Right.
But you can make the right-now decision to make sure the club's still moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so is it your opinions that, we're going to get deeper in this, but right now, is it your opinions that just having a riding group of guys that get together, or a car club, and we're going to get into motorcycle clubs specifically, but I kind of categorize it in any type of organization or club, is that going to be something, or have you seen that work where the same guys are, and as they grow and get more people that want to ride with them, that's going to stay organized in any fashion?
If it's just hey, who wants to meet up at Fred Meyer and go for a ride? Okay. The minute you start branding yourself, you need to set up some type of organization.
And when money comes into play and everything else, there has to be some organization, some structure.
If they're paying dues or whatever.
It's just, I don't see how it could be done without. You're going to have 18 different people arguing. I just don't think they'd have the tight-knit group and, really have the direction that you would have if you have that organization and that leadership that's there.
And the way it works with us is you don't vote unless it's a tiebreaker.
Exactly.
So it's not like you can't ramrod stuff
right
as the president. And I think that's maybe what these guys are afraid of. Well, so-and-so is going to take over and just start running everything. And I've been in it from the inception. I've never had you come lobby to me about a vote. So,
right.
It's not like you come to me and say, hey, I don't know how so-and-so is going to vote on this. I'd really like it to go through. Can you on my side or anything like that? It doesn't work that way.
I wonder if they get some of that idea from things like shows like Sons of Anarchy, where basically your president is like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're doing it.
Right.
And that's, I don't know that that's the way to do it. I mean, it may be certain times where that has to be done, but really, everybody should have a say, I think.
And that's more militaristic, and
Exactly.
it counts in wartime. But we're talking about a motorcycle club, so that's a good point, Jake, and good point, LD. And we're going to get a little more into that. But let me just say, get into it a little bit. Is really, it's going to matter how painstakingly you put in the time to write your bylaws, and that's exactly what we did in our club. We have very specific bylaws that took us over a year to write, and they were painstaking. Let me warn you, when you're starting your club, guys, do not borrow somebody's bylaws.
And we didn't meet quarterly.
Right.
It took us a year of 5 hours once a month.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
And a lot of emails.
And we did a lot of what ifs.
And collaborating on documents. Yeah, right. What ifs, exactly. And so I will tell you, don't borrow bylaws, guys. The bylaws will be the absolute foundation of your club. They better be specific to your club and your ideology. Some of these clubs just go out and grab somebody's off the internet. That is not going to make for a successful club. You can get ideas, but at the end of the day, we wrote ours so uniquely. I guarantee that there's no other club in the world, because we made everything ourselves. We didn't copy anything. We wrote them from scratch in the way we wanted to do it. And it's very, very unconventional for most clubs. And to give you a little bit of a secret inside look, but that's one of them, is like LD says, no one person has the power in our club, not even the president. I only vote on anything in the event that there's a tie amongst patched members. That's the only time as I would break that tie. I haven't voted yet.
Except you do vote on new members, because that's
Yes.
100% unanimous for us.
Correct. Good call, LD. Very, very good call. Yes, I do vote when it comes to both probationary, both prospective member, and full patch member, because that is 100% vote. Absolutely. Because if you don't do 100% on vote, we've gotten that in the past episodes. We won't get on a tangent on that, but if you're not doing that, you're destined for failure within your club. If it's a 3/4 vote or a 90% vote, you're failure. It better be 100% to get a new member.
Yeah, one guy doesn't like him, then those two are fighting, and then the whole shit starts.
It's done deal.
Yep.
So here's a little personal example of what I want to get into. And this was a guy that came to me. He's a friend, and he is a listener of the podcast, but I won't reveal too much information. And I added a little bit of extra, not to the story, but my extra thoughts to it. So here's an example that I came up with, guys, and maybe you guys can relate to this example. So we were just BSing, and it caught my mind, but I didn't tell him. But I was listening to his story, and this group of guys were really tight, and they went hunting every year. Okay, big hunters. Had a big elk camp and tents and all kinds of stuff. And it grew each year, and they got a bigger tent, and they got more food, and they stayed longer, and all these kinds of things, but there was never a structure to it. Well, he came to me this year, and how did it go? Well, he started telling me that, these people don't, these guys, we ended up breaking it off with them. We told them we're just not interested anymore. They didn't hunt like them. They didn't hunt at the same times. They weren't taking care of their end of the bargain when it came to getting food for the week. They weren't, they weren't communicating ahead of coming up. Sometimes the guys said they would be up, and they actually bought extra food, and then they wouldn't show up. Are we getting it here? This is a simple hunting group.
Right.
What happened there? Why can't these guys hunt together? They just wanted to get together and just have fun hunting. Why can't that just work?
Because you have a guy that's unreliable and answers to nobody.
There you go. There was no structure. There was no accountability. There was no, sense of ownership or pride or who handles what. I mean, when you get some structure, if they would have got some structure and called it their hunting club, then somebody would have been delegated, like you're delegated secretarial duties, among many other things above secretarial duties. Oscar has treasurer. I have president duties. Lurch has VP. And so we all know our place, and we all held each other accountable to get things done, to assure our success into the future, to make sure that we don't end up like this hunting group because we just didn't want to organize and we thought it would just work. I think it's fair to say when something gets to a certain level, it's just going to have some sort of, structure. Whether you actually have elections in a hunting club, I don't care. It's definitely more important for a motorcycle club.
Somebody's got to be the godfather.
Somebody's got to be the godfather. Well said. Does that little example there hit a point home there, Jakey, at all?
Yeah, I agree. If you didn't have some kind of, like in your group, our group, I guess that, do you think that a motorcycle trip that's a week long could be done without the organization of the officers?
Annually?
Really? I mean,
yeah, it might
it'd be
happen
a
once on a fluke, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
happen annually.
but yeah, I went last year for the few days, and it was amazing to me how organized everything was, from where the stops would be to
How to get there?
yeah. I mean, everything was just done. It was, I mean, to me, being just
Were
kind of
you,
along for
were
the
you
ride.
on the day we went through Oregon?
The first day,
The day we
Yeah, I
took the
was-
wrong exit,
yeah, I was
half the
there for
group,
that.
the other half the group followed, but they're going,
Yeah,
what
it
the
was
hell?
kind of a
that was the
sketchy.
GPS's fault, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the
Yeah,
GPS's
we'll
fault.
put it there.
Oh God. Yeah, but you're right. On these long summer trips that we go in, even there's just, everybody's got it. You do a lot of LD does a lot of the work, the plan, the ride planning, the mapping. Ultimately, most of the time, unless LD wants a break, he's pretty much in charge of getting us where we go. And there was one time where, he wanted a break in the back, and I've done that on rides, and I'll take over with my GPS. But at the end of the day, that's kind of his assignment. We've kind of each got our assignments, and we don't stray off. We have our rules, and that keeps us together.
I'll also say this for our club, which is kind of nice, is Ryan is kind of a passive aggressive president, where he doesn't need to be in the front all the time. You know what I mean? When we ride, it's, hey, have fun, ride with your, like Lee and I, we've been, great friends for 9 years now. Ryan has no problem if the two of us hop up in the front, especially before Ryan had GPS. He's
Yeah,
like,
no doubt,
"Fucking
dude.
lead, I don't give a shit."
Right.
But we don't stand true to the structure. Now, if we're going to an event or something, that's different. But just hitting the open road, and when you're riding 400 or 500, 600 miles in a day, you're going to get mixed up, and you want to ride with different people and talk to different guys, especially us. We're all friends. It's not like, I'm good friends with 3 of the guys and I don't talk to 4 of the other ones. I mean, we talk to each other constantly all the time.
Good point, man. Very good point. Yeah, on those rides and yeah. So I guess the point being there is you can be as structured as you want. We have titles, but yeah, none one of us is power hungry. There is a time, which we'll get into in a minute, where you do have to have some emergency things in place for emergency situations. But
Yeah.
but we can break those down a little bit when we get into that section. But anyways, all right. So we talked a little bit about bylaws. We'll kind of just breeze over that. And again, write your own, guys. Do you have anything left on bylaws? Jake is a prospective member with us right now. He got his vest and his just a front, identifying Sworn Few LEMC patch, and he's doing his time right now, headed towards full patch membership. So he really wasn't involved with the bylaws, but you've read the bylaws, and
Yes.
I've never really talked to you about it. So let's just talk about it right now. What's your overall take of those bylaws? Do they give you any sense of anything?
I guess the sense that I get from it was, you guys, I guess, put it in for perspective for me. I was involved with where I work, with our guild forming. We formed a guild, and we wrote bylaws, and like you said, not to do. We kind of stole them from another agency and kind of morphed them into our own. And I think that in seeing yours, it's very clear, or seeing the Sworn Few, it's very clear that they're unique. Everything from, where the direction is, what, everybody's responsibility is, what the requirements for membership are. It just is really, I guess it's like it's, you've said so many times, it's all about, you want a close brotherhood. You don't care if there's 5 members or 50, just as long as it's, done the right way. I'm not going to take shortcuts. And it's, I guess for me, it's just, you guys had an idea of what you wanted. And these bylaws, I think you wanted to make sure that was stuck to, no matter whether it was a chapter that formed in New York or here.
Very well said. Very well said. And that's interesting, because I've never asked you that question. So you got the exact sense of what we tried to portray by writing those bylaws. So when new members come on, there is that sense of exactly. And we go so far as to our members, before they actually, once they become prospective member, from hang around to prospective member, they actually get a copy of the bylaws at that point. And our bylaws are not shared all over online like some clubs, and that's okay if you choose to do that. But they're very, very unique. There's nothing in there that we would be embarrassed about, but they're so we're so proud of those bylaws that we would never just give them out. Only members, they don't get passed via email. They can't just be stored everywhere digitally. We don't just know. Those are the heart and soul and the reason this club will exist for, forever as far as we know. But yeah, they should, have your election protocols, your term limits. We are so hardcore about our bylaws and to make sure prospective members, before one were to receive their full patch, at some time before they get close to becoming a full member, they actually have to take a written test on our bylaws. It is a fill-in-the-blank written test because
it's not open book, huh?
It is not open book. But yeah, so we really get into that for a reason, and that's why we just don't have problems in our club, because we're so strict about who joins and how they join, and that they really, really are into it and know what they're doing and what they're getting into. So, all right, as a club, a group, or a member of whatever organization it is, do you give up your voice to have a say in things? So let's say, I'll just pose the question to you two, that this group in India, these 50 guys, decide to start a formal leadership and structure within their group. What say you to those guys that are naysayers going, well, then we won't have a say in anything? And how can that be avoided? That's a really pronged question, but let's go with that. Any initial thoughts, Jake?
I think that if it happens that way, they set it up wrong, because you shouldn't give up your voice. You shouldn't give up your vote. What you have to realize is that the officers are sent in there to keep the organization going in between meetings, to, basically what the membership votes on doing. It's their job to organize and get that done. That's the way I look at it.
To kind of see just to make sure what everybody's doing.
Right.
And if something's not getting done, to delegate it or do it yourself, right?
Right. And basically, if these guys are passing something like bylaws and something's violated and the officers call them on it, they're doing that on behalf of the membership and what they voted for. If something has to get changed later, the membership should still have a voice to vote on it. But still calls are going to have to be made by that leadership sometimes. I think especially emergency situations, day-to-day things. But if they're giving up that power, then they did do it wrong. That's my opinion.
Good. So what you're saying is it can be done. It has to be done right, which is everything we've led up to here, is write those bylaws correctly. Don't give any one person all the power. Put the people in the positions that are already doing leadership types roles and let it flourish.
But make sure you pick the right people for that job. Don't pick the guy that, the people that are going to want to try and ramrod stuff or be in charge of everything. Don't pick that guy to be your president. Right.
But even if you did, right, you still have safeguards.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because even if let's just say I was a dick.
We do have a way to oust you.
Exactly.
There is.
Exactly. Yeah. There are protections that you guys could oust me. Exactly. We left it in that way in this whole web of bylaws that it's just impossible for anybody to dictate, including me.
Hang on. We got a really good comment from Rick.
Awesome.
He says, being from India, cultural differences could play a part as well. And I don't know those, but that's a good comment.
It is. Absolutely. I don't know the culture there. I've never been to India. I know very little from having my contact with this individual, but definitely.
We need a czar.
We need a czar.
We do.
Dude, that'd be awesome. You just call me the czar.
And I think you might be true on the cultural thing, because for me, it comes a little more, I guess it seems like second nature because of, like I said, my experience with everything from the fraternity to FFA to the guild. I mean, that's kind of how we run it. And, the president, while they run meetings, they don't get to come in and say, do this right now all the time just because I'm the boss.
Right.
That's not how it works all the time.
Right. Right. Good point. Very good point. Yeah. And on cultural differences, I don't know. I assume, I would hope that he would have told me if there were some big barriers there. But it sounds like he's just willing to go. It's really the naysayers are about organizing, period. But I guess I can't get further into that. But good point, Rick. Thanks for being involved in the live chat room. All right. Leadership in a well-organized club or organization should essentially be conductors. Like I said, there's that word again. I consider our leaders in the Sworn Few LEMC as conductors. They're overseers. What am I overseeing? I'm not overseeing to give Rob orders. I'm not overseeing to boss people around. Only thing I'm overseeing is the reputation of our club, which is huge. huge if you're a law-abiding biker club, even if you're not 100% LE, if you're a mixed club, if you're law-abiding, the 99%ers, you should absolutely have club officers to be overseen. I'm always monitoring our reputation and how we're portrayed. And if there's anything that needs to be done with that, as far as social media, as far as the internet, as far as our website, as far as people, thinking, if we were secretive, which we're not, that's why we're so out there. I mean, we're on a podcast, weekly podcast, we got YouTube videos everywhere. We want no secrets about what we do. So I'm monitoring and overseeing our reputation, our performance, standards, our direction. Are we moving forward? Are those projects that are pending, say a 501c3 or whatever, where are those at? And just kind of keeping everything in a hat and making sure we're on track and we're not taking a step backwards. That's essentially, if you get the right leaders and you don't give them all the power, that's really, and that's a lot of what even you do probably at your job. It's not going out and giving orders every day. It's overseeing and kind of just holding that orchestra and making sure everybody's kind of together on everything and nobody's really straying off. That little sheep, is not completely straying off and now you're worried about them. Like, come here back in for a second, just to kind of keep that group cohesive.
Yeah, I would agree that there rarely is a day that comes where I'm barking out orders, on my job. The times when that happens is when really the shit's hitting the fan.
Right.
Pardon my French. If it's, an emergency situation, we got something real crazy going down, then I'm going to be directing people then, and we don't have time to discuss it for me to explain why. But the rest of the time, it's going to be more of a, okay, here's kind of what we want to do, here's why, and
right.
Here's why I need you to do it.
And to bring that in, we're talking about LE world
right.
versus a club environment. So yes, there is going to be some more leadway in a militaristic organization because lives are on the line, which could happen in a club too.
It could.
But, it's really important with the LE side of things, to have exceptions. So, all right, Robbie, let's talk about exceptions that need to be created. Of course, we do have those exceptions in place. Fortunately, we've never had to use them. But I'll just tell you real quick and then you guys can jump in. So there are some exceptions in our bylaws where I could bark an order and it would have to be followed. That doesn't mean it stands a week down the road. But at that time, if I have to, but again, the way we screen our membership and the way we run things, it just really, I can't foresee that happening unless somebody was unaware of a danger they're in. So there are times where I could bark an order or LD could bark an order. Our officers could bark orders. Our sergeant at arms, Chewy, could bark an order. And those come down, and you guys have to write this in your bylaws as emergencies, safety concerns, conflicts that put this club's reputation at risk, our function at risk, or our order at immediate risk. Orders that are given on this. I will tell you this. So let's just say a club member was in danger or he was doing something that was not within, within our club parameters and it risked one of those things. Well, I could tell him, if I had to, you're done. Or give me your cut. I need your vest right now. We'll discuss this later. But you're putting our reputation and your behavior, you're putting our club at risk, and you will give me your cut. And we have legal agreements for that. We have all kinds of legal agreements. Go ahead and, that took us a long time too. That you don't own your cut. We buy that for you. That is our cut, and you sign legal agreements of what happens. And we won't get into a lot of that, but that gives me the right to take that kit or that cut. And now, that doesn't mean that when we get done with that trip or that event, that order will permanently stand. It was a decision that I may have had to make at a specific given time. And then what we do is the members come back, it gets tabled by all the officers, or you could have a committee in your club if you wanted. You could put a committee on it. We do it for the officers. All 4 officers would sit down, and our elected officers, because our road captain and sergeant at arms are going to be, obviously appointed positions in our club, but all your elected officers in that chapter sit down, and we could also get another chapter officers if we want to sit down, and it basically gets overviewed. If it is challenged, if the person comes back and still wants to be a member of the club, they may just walk at that point and go, yeah, I screwed up. I'm never going to be a part of this club again. Again, this has never happened, but we have safeguards in place. And then it would get tabled when we came back from wherever we were, and the officers would all look at the totality of the circumstances, and they would hold me accountable to see if I made a good decision. And if they all agreed with my decision, then we'd all vote 100%, and that person would be ousted from the club. Or there would be discipline imposed, whether that's losing your cut for a certain amount of time to see if your behavior, improves, whatever we deem the appropriate punishment or the probationary time for that. Does that make sense, Jake?
Yeah. I mean,
so just because I make a on-the-fly order if I had to, doesn't mean that I still have the power to enforce that long term.
No,
go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, I mean, it'd be unfortunate, and we've never had this situation, but say somebody's wearing their cut and they start a bar fight. Do you want, when the cops get there, to have your guy in your cut started the bar fight?
Right.
Take that, tell them you're on your own, screw you.
Yep.
I mean, somebody's got to have the authority to do that.
Right.
If you don't have a president in place and the guy goes, no, screw you, you try and take it. We're equals.
Right.
Then what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Is now your brand is tarnished and everything else? No.
And those kind of things you may never recover from, depending on
Exactly.
situation. And that kind of thing's important. I mean, it's akin a lot. I know in the law enforcement side of it, I look at my supervisory role. I'm more of a first line guy, and I something like this, I could send a guy home.
Right.
I could say you're done for the day, but then they get to come back the next day.
They got their union. They get to challenge it.
You've got to have that authority. You've got to have somebody with authority right there, whether it's law enforcement, motorcycle clubs, something else that, okay, we need to solve this problem right now. And if there isn't that kind of leadership structure, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you're destined for failure.
Yeah.
You're destined for your reputation to be screwed up, or another, it could be anything that jeopardizes the club's image or safety. It could be a guy, which we, like I say, we screen, but, a guy that gets in a bad situation in his life and has a few too much beers and tries to get on his bike. No, I'm going to order you. You are not riding. That you're ordered, period. And luckily we don't have those kind of problems, but they're in place should somehow a crappy member sneak in here, but we don't foresee that happening. So, all right, remember what we always say, and this will likely never happen, and that's what we're talking about. Numbers, guys, for your club should never be a priority, or you are more at risk of failing. You will probably fail if you just get too big too fast and you don't do the proper screening of your members, and don't just hand out or sell your colors. If you're doing that, you're destined to fail at some point. And some people say, well, there's some big clubs that do that. They are failing, guys. Okay, that it depends how you look at fail.
Lose control.
Right. Exactly. It doesn't mean they don't still have members buying colors every day and joining their happy little club, but they're failing miserably.
How happy are they, though?
They're not.
Well, I think you lose control. You lose the embodiment of brotherhood, because you can't have 100 brothers or 400 brothers. Yeah, you could call them brothers, but how many have you even met?
Right.
That's ridiculous. Every guy in our club I've met, I've had beer with, I've ate food with, I've met their wife, I've met their kids. I know every single guy, and you get a club that grows too much too fast. You lose the span of control on what kind of guys you're bringing in. You lose the span of control on knowing them. And all that stuff goes out the window, especially if you're selling your patch right off the bat. God knows what kind of guy you're going to get that's going to go out and, like we said, get in a bar fight or whatever else with that patch on and cause a bunch of problems for you.
And I think, from my perspective, it wouldn't mean as much if you just got it given to you. I mean, if it's not something you're working for, and then, once you get it, I think there's a brotherhood building there with a, sense of accomplishment and things like that. If you get to that point, if you just, here's $50, here's your patch. I mean, I could go do that by myself and order something online, and
there's lots of clubs like that.
There is.
Yeah.
We see it rampant in the law-abiding biker scene, and we're not talking bad about that, guys. As far as it's not what we believe. We're never going to look down on you or not ride with you or anything like that. We don't believe in running clubs that way. We think it's too easy, and you're going to get that picture of that guy doing something wrong with your brand, with your coveted logo. And do you have controls over who can post what where? I mean, what are these chapters posting on their I mean, we have control of that, but we know that they're not going to post something that would be, because they would be held accountable. What did you post that for on your Facebook page? Why did you post yourself, Jake, naked the other night with nothing on except your prospective cut?
I did.
Oh, that was part of your probation.
I did it for the ladies.
LD made you do that, dude. Didn't LD make you do that?
Do what?
Pose with his cut and nothing else on, just his balls flapping in the wind.
That was a test to see if he'd do it.
It was cold out. They weren't flapping anywhere.
Right back up.
Oh, God, where were we? Yeah, you're right, though. And we've talked about those resources I gave you guys for those other episodes. The links will be in this show, too. We gave you resources for a lot of that, talking about, structuring your club and not selling your covers and, having, if you have members on paper and you haven't seen them, that's a problem to me. That's a problem because that guy doesn't even have any pride or accountability. He's just going to go out and wear his vest when he feels like it, when he feels like he wants to be in a motorcycle club and go do something stupid. And nobody cares that he was only a member on paper and he paid you $50 for his colors. All they care about is that he was on the internet wearing your cut and, doing bad things or making you look bad. Anything else on that, guys?
Yeah, I got a couple of comments here.
Yeah, bring them in. Reel them in.
First one's from Mike Petrie. He says, brotherhood is where you don't have to ever meet them and you can still count on them.
Oh, I like it.
That's a good one.
Deep Thoughts by Mike Petrie.
He says, handing out a patch, you change the meaning of brotherhood. You don't trust everyone like you should. And then another, Rick says, look at one large LE club, buy your patch and no obligation to show up or make any rides. Commitment just isn't there.
Absolutely.
And we've seen that.
We have. Well said. You're not going to get commitment. You're not going to get pride. You're not going to get dedication. And those clubs, some of them I see are failing internally. Okay, they're great. I mean, if you just take $50 for your colors, you can keep the organization going to some extent because the huge board of, whatever that handles all the money and has full-time jobs doing it now, they just want the money because it pays salaries and stuff. And that's a whole nother topic. But, you're just never going to have the pride and the dedication there. So let's move on from there. Unless you guys have any thoughts on that particular subject, we'll move on to the next part.
Move on.
Wow. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for tuning in. If you thought part 1 of 2 right here, that was part 1 of 2 of a 2-part series. Why should our motorcycle club get organized or our riding group? Why should we have structure? Why should we have officers? Why should we do all that motorcycle club stuff? Are there reasons? Well, that was part 1 of 2. You'll definitely want to stay tuned for part 2 of 2. We picked the conversation right back up. And of course, LD in the house, Jakey in the house. Yeah, guys, look forward to that. We really appreciate it. Don't forget about the GoPro raffle, guys. Again, GoPro Hero 3 Silver, $400 value, limited to 100 tickets. $10 per entry. You can only enter one time. Once we get to 100, we will do the drawing. You will be the proud new owner of a Hero 3 Silver GoPro camera. The extra proceeds, of course, go right back into Law Abiding Biker Podcast and Media so we can continue to bring you guys the services that we provide. Puts a little fuel in the Law Abiding Biker gas tank so we can keep riding on down the road and get new rubber when we need it. All right, guys. Don't forget, Law Abiding Biker Podcast hotline phone number 509-731-3548. Call us, leave a message, get involved, or you can sit right at your computer or your phone. Doesn't matter. You can just go to a web browser, lawabidingbiker.com/voicemail. You can leave it right there, right over your speakers, your computer speakers, your phone speakers, whatever. No cost, no charges. Gives us some feedback. It's some topics or some items we may use in a show. We actually have some pending that we plan on using. We thank you for those voicemails, guys. Don't forget to get in the free email club, lawabidingbiker.com/email club. We send out when we come out with new free videos, tutorial videos, and review videos, all that good stuff. Rate us if you can't. Support us financially in any way. You're not in a position to do that. Please head over to iTunes, lawabidingbiker.com/iTunes or /Stitcher Radio. Rate us, guys. Only take a minute. It bumps us up in the rankings. It assures that other bikers around the world will join the biker revolution right here at Law Abiding Biker Podcast and Media. God bless. Peace out.